Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
David Gauke, the Prime Minister said in 2010, we must always look after poorer students. That's why we're keeping bursaries. What's changed?
Well, the position is that we think in order to ensure that we can properly fund record numbers of people going into higher education, that the best value for money approach of doing this is moving towards a loan system that we think that this still ensures that people have got access to the funds that they need whilst going through university. And in terms of the balance between the taxpayer and the student, or more to the point, someone who has had the benefit of higher education, we're clear that there needs to be that shift so that the
So when did you change your mind?
Well, look, this is an issue that we have always looked at, but we were
but you've always been in favour of bursaries. Indeed, you justified, by you, I mean your party and ministers at the time, you justified the trebling in tuition fees by an increase in student grants to help poorer students live through their time at university. So what's changed, and when did you change it?
Well, we were very clear when we fought the last general election that we needed to find further savings in public spending.
You didn't mention this one, Mr. Gauke.
This was a part of when looking at the budget for the Department for Business, Innovation and Skills. This is a substantial part of that budget.
Well, you didn't. Well, why didn't you put it in the manifesto?
Well, because once we'd won the general election, we looked at all the areas of public spending to see where we felt that there were savings. And here was something where we felt there was a significant saving that could be made that enables us still to do something very important, which is take the cap on the number of students.
Hold on. Let's just get this right. We went into this election with all previous statements from Conservative ministers extolling the virtues of bursaries and saying how important it was, even with rising fees, that bursaries help poor students still to go to university. And you produced figures that it did. In that university campaign, in that election campaign, you never mentioned that you were thinking of going from bursaries to loans. It wasn't in the manifesto. So how were we to know this is what you were going to do?
We were very clear. The principles
behind.
We were very clear that we were going to find savings in public expenditure, and we gave those numbers, and we talked about departmental spending that we were going to find £13 billion.
You didn't tell us beforehand, did you?
We didn't. Well, we didn't make that decision until.
If it's such a good idea, why didn't you? Why have you put it through a committee? Why haven't you even? This is a big change for lots of poorer students. Why haven't you even had a debate in the House of Commons about it?
Well, it's perfectly reasonable to do this through a statutory instrument.
No,
why?
Hold on.
Absolutely.
Well, hold on just a minute. Owen.
Absolutely isn't.
The power,
doing it repeatedly with issue after issue.
Owen,
did it with
Owen,
universal credit,
the power,
tax credits.
Can I make this point? Owen, the power that we used to take this through on a statutory instrument was a power that was given to the government in an Act of Parliament that was passed by a Labour government in 1998.
This is a complete red herring. We never used SIs as widely as you've done to put through major changes. Universal credit.
Can I just make the point, David Gauke, that it wasn't in the manifesto? You gave no inkling that this was a potential change that if you were elected, you would do. And yet you still wouldn't debate it in the House of Commons. It is surely worth more than a statutory instrument that you can shove through in a committee.
Well, there was a vote in the House of Commons on this, as we can have an opposition day debate.
Only thanks to us
on that, which we can do.
We wouldn't have done
But the idea that somehow this is concealed. But I come back to the point.
It was
the very power that we are using. Well, it was announced in the budget. There's no concealment here. But the power to take this through by a statutory instrument is a power that a Labour Act of Parliament gave
Why
us.
does that make it right?
Well, I'm making the point that if Owen is going to criticise it, saying it's outrageous that you use a statutory instrument for this, then why did a Labour government give us the power?
We didn't used to use this for financial measures like this. That is the truth. We didn't use it ever for anything as substantial as
it's a
changing.
All right. We are talking a bit of process now. I'd like to get back to the substance, Laura.
This is a big policy change that will affect lots of people's lives when they're thinking about going into higher education in the years to come. It's interesting and worth knowing this plan was basically on the shelf. It was discussed and considered by Vince Cable and David Willits under the coalition. They shied away from doing it. At that time, I understand that Nick Clegg was very nervous about going that far because of everything that had happened around tuition fees. But in a sense, it was something that was sort of on the shelf that the Conservatives knew about, that when they got back in, suddenly everybody was scouring for savings. They could take this plan off the shelf and get savings pretty much that they easily deliverable, not politically easy, but easily deliverable inside biz. But even so, just after the election, there was a real tussle inside the business department over whether or not this was the right way to go. But it did make its way into the budget.
Is it Labour policy to abolish tuition fees?
No, I want to talk, if I may, Andrew, about the issue that we've been discussing.
Well, no, I don't,
position.
because we've already done it, and Mr. Gauke has had a number of difficult questions. I don't think anybody can say we've not grilled him on that. I'm asking you,
to be able to comment on the government's
and you've been
positions as well.
commenting on it. You've been asking questions too. I'm asking you a question about Labour policy.
So our policy at the last election was we were going to cut tuition fees from 9,000 to 6,000. Our policy, as we've illustrated in Wales, is that we believe in lower tuition fees. We've still got a 3,000 fee in Wales, and we've maintained in Wales under the Welsh Labour government educational grants, including the educational maintenance allowance for the 16
So it's
to 19
not to abolish tuition fees entirely.
The crucial issue we've got to address here today is the fact that 500,000 students, the poorest ones, who do benefit presently from £3,500 grants each year, are now going to be not £40,000 in debt at the end of their university, but £53,000, and the government is going to save money on the backs of the poorest. And their own impact assessment concedes, Andrew, that it is going to diminish female participation in higher education, diminish participation from black and ethnic minorities, and diminish participation by the disabled. That's his government's
why
impact
Mr.
assessment.
Gauke was asked some rather tough questions. Can I come back and get clarification from you now that you've had your say? Is it Labour policy to abolish tuition fees? And if not, what level do you think you'd set them at?
Jeremy Corbyn said that it is his ambition to abolish tuition fees, and we are considering how we go about doing that. And when we get to the next election, when we are putting forward a manifesto, that will be our ambition.
All right. Didn't your previous answer just say to me you weren't considering abolishing tuition fees and that you'd kept them in Wales?
No, my previous answer said that at the last election, Labour's policy was to cut from 9,000 to 6,000. We've now got a leader who says he wants to make sure that we open up access to higher education. He believes that means that Labour needs to look at tuition fees. His ambition is to abolish tuition fees. I think we've now got to consider seriously how we move towards making higher education accessible to more young people, in particular from lowest income households. In Scotland,
I'm afraid we're way over.
In Scotland,
we're way over, and we're going to stop. Excuse me.
They're losing.
That's it. We have other things to do. Stop. Start.
The bell has rung. Very brave, Andrew. Very brave. Go, it seems, Laura.
Like a traffic. And you're on.
And then I was just going
Laura, we have to say goodbye.
Christina Rees, the MP for Neath. After my appalling memory lapse earlier, she was appointed yesterday the Shadow Minister for the Courts and Legal Aid. So there you go. That's made up. I will now go. Cease and desist.
Well, thanks so much.
That's all, folks.